we're going to get this wrong about our Christmas services this year. I know it's going to happen. Listen, we need to talk, okay? We are all about to make a huge, gigantic mistake in our Christmas services. How do I know? Because I've made this mistake the past probably 15 years that I've been leading worship, and it wasn't only until recently that I've changed my mind about how to lead Christmas worship, and I've stopped making this mistake. Here's the mistake that we're going to make. It's planning a service that entertains instead of engages. Think about your Christmas plans right now for your Christmas Eve or Christmas Day service, because Christmas is on a Sunday. What are your plans? Are you going to put on some big show and hope that people are impressed? Are you giving away a car? Are you going to have the school drum line come out and do a great rendition of The Little Drummer Boy? Is that still a thing? I know people are doing that all the time. The King and Country version of Little Drummer Boy is a necessity. Listen, we need to craft Christmas services that engage and don't just entertain. It's so easy on Christmas to be like, I'm gonna make this really cool artistic thing, and people are gonna show up and they're gonna sit and they're gonna watch and they're gonna be amazed and they're gonna see the Christmas story play out, and it's gonna be awesome. And then at the end we're gonna have cookies and hot chocolate, and everybody's gonna be like, man, that was a good Christmas service. I love how I felt during that service. It felt like I did what I was supposed to do. Don't make that mistake this year. Don't make a service that entertains. Make a service, lead a service that engages people. And I want to talk about what that looks like in this video. I think it starts with this. We have to understand this, and I want this to give you freedom. You don't need to make every single year bigger and better than the last year. This is the cycle that we get stuck in as worship leaders. Some of us do it every single Sunday, but a lot of us at least do it every single holiday season, Easter and Christmas. We think, what am I going to do this year that's going to top last year? And don't get me wrong, I was stuck in that cycle for a while. Like I said, I did it for 15 years, and I just decided to hop off the hamster wheel of making things bigger and better every single year, because the Christmas story is already the best story ever told. We can tell it again and again. In fact, I think that we will be telling it again and again for all of eternity. And if we truly believe in the power of the gospel, that it alone is the power to save, then we don't have to try to make it better. Now, I want to just say, like, it's okay to put in a little bit of extra effort for your Christmas services, but I think I'll speak for myself here. I've gone over the top before. I remember several years ago, I was all excited because we had this projector set up behind this huge curtain in front of our stage, and we did Noel by Lauren Daigle. Noel, Noel, da-na-na-na-na-na-na. And it was beautiful. We had people sort of like dancing, like silhouette dancing. It was a pretty cool art piece, and we had stuff projected on the screen, and then at the end of the song, the curtain dropped, and it was cool. But looking back, what did that accomplish in our worship gathering? I think at the end of the day, it was my attempt at making something better than last year. When in reality, what is our purpose when we gather together? We are there to sing together. We are there to hear the word of God preached together. We are there to pray together. We are there to exhort and encourage and admonish one another, not to just entertain people. So, let's get this straight. Not every year needs to be new or better. How many times have you read the same thing in the Bible and gotten something different out of it? We can do the same thing with our gatherings. We can literally start, I think that we could literally start every Christmas service just reading the Christmas story from the Bible, not some grand modernization, some interpretive dance, not some spoken word. The Son of God in flesh came to earth, took breath from the cradle in the do people still do spoken word? They were kind of cool for a little while, but they got on my nerves after a while. Sorry if you're a spoken word artist. We could just read the Word of God and trust that it is enough. So that's the first thing we need to remember. Not every year needs to be newer and bigger and better than the last. I want to give you the freedom to jump off that perpetual treadmill that you've been running on every single year. Hop off of it. So with that big idea in mind, let's talk about some specifics of what we can actually do during our worship services for Christmas. One of the things that I have made a commitment to doing over these past few years has been not shying away from familiar Christmas songs. I know for us, it's like, how many times can I sing "O Come All Ye Faithful"? How many times can I sing "Joy to the World"? How many times can I sing "O Holy Night" and "Silent Night"? I think the answer is more than you think you can. And the people in your church, they want to sing those songs. So we don't have to pick these new modern worship songs that are, these new Christmas songs. Not that those in and of themselves are bad. I love the Chris Tomlin Christmas songs, and I think that you can definitely incorporate those into your worship gatherings. But I think there's something to be said for just doing a traditional Christmas carol. I mean, we could start our services with the high school drum line coming on stage doing an awesome version of Little Drummer Boy, and people would be in awe. Or we'd start our services with "O come all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant, O come ye to Bethlehem." Which is more powerful? Nay. Not which is more powerful, which is more productive and purposeful in our gathering, to entertain people or to engage people, and have everybody start our services singing "O come all ye faithful," inviting us into the Christmas story as opposed to being spectators who are standing on the edge watching it. The people in your church, they know the song "O come all ye faithful." They know "Joy to the World," and not the Phil Wickham version, which I like. I'm not knocking on Phil Wickham's version here. I'm just saying they just know the real version, not the "Joy to the World." I mean, that's great, but I say that because I got a comment last year. What did I do? I did "Hark" by Hillsong, and as I was watching the congregation, because my eyes were open while I was leading worship, I was singing that song, and it's, first of all, it's in a different time signature, which I think messes people up, but I think it's in 6/8. "Hark the herald angels sing," and everybody's singing along, and it's beautiful. And then we get to the chorus, "Hark the angels sing, glory to the newborn heart." And whenever I got to that part, everybody cut out because people didn't know that part. People had never heard that part before, and so why was I doing it? Because I wanted to make something new and fresh and exciting. So don't try to think that you have to do that every single year with other elements in your service, but definitely don't think you have to do that with the songs in your Christmas service. I'm telling you, if you picked, how many songs do you do at your service? 4, 6, maybe? If you picked 6 traditional Christmas carols, you would kill in your service. It would be everything that you need. I'm telling you, you don't need the newest best song. You just need the old standbys that everybody knows and loves. Now, related to that, speaking of things that we need to specifically do during our service, because these songs are familiar, we need to explain to our churches that these are worship songs. We get stuck, it's so easy to get stuck in the nostalgia of the moment, of the familiarity of those Christmas songs, that we just sing them and it feels like we're in the Christmas season. But if you actually look at the lyrics of the songs, these are worship songs. These lyrics of these songs can lead us in worship. And I think maybe that's why we shy away from them sometimes, is because we recognize that they're just sort of these nostalgic songs. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do them. It just means that we have to take a little bit more time to explain to people that these songs are indeed worship songs and they're not just these feel-good moments. So, are you prepared to explain to your church that these Christmas songs are worship songs? Hashtag Christmas songs are worship songs. I've said that for the past 2 years now here on YouTube. But Christmas songs are worship songs. So let's treat them like that and use them because people can know them and sing along with them. And it can be such a powerful moment of congregational worship when we stop trying to sidestep the familiarity of the songs because we think that people are tired of them and are going to be expecting them, and we need to surprise them with something cool or a new version instead of just doing the version that everybody knows and can sing along with instantly. So plan some speaking transitions. Think about them already. This is important enough to plan out this far in advance. Plan some speaking transitions that are going to teach your church that Christmas songs are worship songs. And if you need help with teaching your church that Christmas songs are worship songs, I put together a 7-day devotional called 7 Days to Leading Christmas Worship Well. In that, this is for you as a worship leader. It will walk you through how to teach your church that Christmas songs are worship songs, plus some other helpful things as you work your way through that week-long devotional. So check that out for free down in the description below. And one more warning for your Christmas planning. We need to realize that there will be people in our services who don't regularly come to church. However, that doesn't mean that we change the function of our worship service. And I know that this is controversial, but I truly believe that the church gathering is first and foremost for believers, which means even though there will be people who don't believe in Jesus, who don't regularly come to church, guess what? Your gathering is still primarily for the people of your church. And I hear it in the comments, that's selfish. That's not the purpose of the church. But I think that that's actually a lower view of what the church is than what God calls us to be, because the church is not just the church whenever we meet on Sunday morning or at our Christmas Eve service. The church is supposed to be the people, and God's evangelistic method for reaching the world is not that we would expect people to come to our church services and then hear the gospel, but the primary evangelistic method that God has laid out for us is for the church to go out to the world and preach the gospel, not for the world to come to the church and hear the gospel preached. Now, that's not to say that there isn't any evangelistic benefit to the church gathering, but the evangelistic method in our church services isn't that we dumb down and water down the gospel and try to make it palatable and refine it to its lowest form so that unbelievers can accept it and step into the church body. I believe that at our church gatherings, we're supposed to be pouring into believers, and so we raise them up. But in the process, the beauty of that is that if an unbeliever is in our gathering, they see the people of God worshiping him to the highest possible degree because we've raised up God and put him in his proper place. They see that, and that in turn will be attractive to them. We don't have to come down to the theological level of the unbeliever. We set the bar up here and say, this is what we believe. This is why we're celebrating. We do it unashamed. Look at the joy that we have in our worship of God because we believe that he is so great. And then we challenge the unbeliever through the gospel to rise up and experience that joy. And I bring this point up just because I know that it is so easy to plan our worship services and make them this seeker-sensitive experience where we do try to entertain people and we try to draw them in with gimmicks. And I'm not pointing out other churches here. I'm talking to myself. I've done this in the past. I've had this mindset, but I've moved away from it because I don't think that it is what God intends for a church service. Sorry, I should say that looking at the camera. Sometimes I feel like when people look around and they aren't looking at the camera, they come across as they don't know what they're talking about or they're disingenuous. I believe that the church service is designed primarily for believers. And I bring this up around Christmas time because I know how easy it is to slip into this seeker-sensitive planning where we kind of forsake the people of our church, the believers in our church, for the unbelievers outside of the church who are going to come to church. And like I said, that missional aspect of the church is supposed to happen outside of Sunday morning. It's supposed to happen outside of the church gathering primarily. It can happen in the church gathering, but primarily it's supposed to happen outside of the gathering. And instead we shift it and we make it primarily in the church gathering. And then what do we communicate to the people? We say, you just need to get them here to church. I don't care what you do. Tell them we're going to have coffee and cookies and hot chocolate, and we're going to give presents away. And as long as you can get them here, we will share the gospel with them. But the gospel sharing process is every believer's responsibility. So, do not plan a Christmas service this year that only entertains people. Plan a Christmas service that engages them, engages your church in worship. Do it by picking familiar songs. Do it by realizing that the purpose of the church gathering hasn't changed. Engage the unbelievers who do come. This is kind of balancing out what I said before. Engage the unbelievers who do come, but don't just try to engage them with fancy things and food. Do it with the gospel and challenge them. Are you actually going to challenge them to participate in the Christmas story, or just sit back and relax and check the Christmas service checkbox off of their list, and then they'll come back next year and check it off again because that's just what they do on Christmas? Now, if you need a little help figuring out what all of this looks like, I talk about all of these things in the 7-day devotional that I mentioned earlier, 7 Days to Leading Christmas Worship Well. I'll link it down in the description below. You can pick up a copy of it for free. It'll teach you how to teach your church that Christmas songs are worship songs. It'll teach you how to engage people who don't come to your church often, because we do need to be recognizing that they are there, but it'll help you do that in the appropriate way. It'll also teach you how to experience joy in the Christmas season, instead of having it be this thing that we just have to get through. And there's a ton more over the 7-day devotional. So check that out down in the description below. Other than that, thanks so much for joining me. Till I see you in the next video, keep leading worship well.